What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Yoshimitsu deck that we played for this week's Campus Championship. Let's jump into it. All right, so what does Yoshimitsu want to do? Yoshimitsu is a crazy fun character. He's a 5-hand size character that is really good at faking it. He fakes being a 7-hand size almost to a 9-hand size character really easy. He makes all his attacks have +3 damage or +3 speed, depending on which zone of the attack it is. As well as, after you make a check for a weapon, and you check a weapon foundation, the check gets +2 if the check is +2, and if you checked a weapon card, you get to draw 2 cards. So make your check. You can once per turn give it +2. Neat. As you build a little harder, block a little faster, push a little more damage. And if it happens to be a weapon card, which a lot of our cards are, we get to draw 2 additional resources off of it. And this is playable on both players' turns. So drawing extra cards on defense, or lubing up your check a little bit to make sure that you hit that really solid block, it's very good all around. So we are playing our main bomb. The main way that we kill people is with 4 Face Splitter. This card gets exponential damage equal to the number of weapon cards in our card pool, counting itself, and it has a combo with a weapon, so it starts off at +2/+2. If we use Yoshimitsu, it gets an additional 3 damage, so it just starts out as the second attack of your turn as a 9 damage attack. If your opponent happens to be at Desperation, you get to draw an additional card, but the only issue is it is very slow. It is a 3 high for 9. That card is going to be blocked. So we have to have things inside of the deck to fix that. And one of the ways that we do that is by playing 2 Elegant Death Throws. My opponent chooses an attack in my discard pile. It gets 1 damage equal for each of his particular keywords. The lowest keyword rating that we have is 2. And then if they chose a weapon card, which they did, they're all weapons, they have to discard a card. And so we are discarding cards out of their hand so that my 9 damage really slow attacks will get through. Up next, the card that I really wanted to try out in this deck is we're playing 4 Tomahawk Swing. It was good. It honestly was very good. It becomes a 6 high for 7 inside of Yoshimitsu that accidentally replaces your entire staging area. So if you happen to find 5, sometimes 7 attack cards in your hand going on your turn, you can play this very late into your chain, and if it deals damage and if you have a momentum, you can have 7 committed foundations, destroy them all, replace the top cards of your deck as those foundations, and then keep on swinging. I think this card's very cool. I will say that the responsibility was was not as useful as I wanted it to be. It was good, but I don't think it's good enough to be a 4 of inside of the deck. I think 2 is probably just fine. Up next, a little more lube on our attack turns. We've got 4 Syndicate Slice. This card says that my next check to play an attack gets +1. If it's blocked, I get to draw cards, and it is another 7 damage attack. 3 high for 7. Feels really good to have Syndicate Slice move into a Face Splitter because they're not blocking this, and my Face Splitter is essentially for free. And then the last, the last real attack we have is 4 Geo de Rey, this card is just, after I block with it, I get a momentum. Momentum's very important inside of our deck, not for abilities on our cards, not for abilities on our attacks, but abilities on our foundations. And then it says, if you have more momentum than my opponent, they get to destroy one of their foundations. A little annoying, but not game-ending by any sense. And then the last attack that we never want to play as an attack is Double Evil Bow. This card says, after it is checked, remove a card from your hand, and then you can take any card from your discard pile and add it up to your hand. So if I don't like this card, I'll get rid of it and then pick up whatever cool attack, probably a Face Splitter, that I want, or pick up this cool resource that I need. The other hidden ability of this card is randomly, it's a reversal that can seal my opponent's character, but this card does get removed afterwards, and I very much want to keep these in my deck as much as possible. Moving on to our actions and our assets, we are playing double Shinzokuetsu. It's a 0/3 non-block. It either gives me plus to my check, it's another Yoshimitsu's +2 to my check, or I can remove it from the game, enhance, discard a weapon card, check a 7, then check to play the card, and then remove that attack. So they can boost their attacks crazy fast, crazy strong, and then I can be like, oh, check a 7, check a 0, discard one of my cool weapon cards, get it out of here. And it does say weapon card as opposed to weapon attack, so I don't even have to necessarily lose attack resources. I can lose any of these cool other cards. Heck, I can even use another copy of itself. Probably not a great play, but if it's desperate when you can use it, you certainly have the choice. Onto our assets, we're playing double Manji Sword and Fuma Blades. This card lets me draw cards as well as control my staging area, my opponent's staging area just a little bit. Once again, it's a lot like Geoda Ray with its destruction because they get to pick and I have to check a 7 in order to do so. But it is playable on both players' turn, once per turn after I play a weapon card, whether as an attack or as a block or something like that. I can check my 7, my opponent has to destroy one of their foundations. And then once I have an attack string going, I have 3 weapon cards in my card pool, I can check a 5, very easy, draw additional cards. I think this card is very, very fair. One of my favorite assets from the Soul Calibur set. Up next, we're playing one Mace and Ace. This card just says, in hands commit, my opponent chooses an attack in my discard pile. And I get all its enhances. Honestly, the best one that they could pick is probably Face Splitter, or Elegant Death Throws is a good one. Tomahawk Swing is really good for the +2. Syndicate Slice says that they're not allowed to interact by blocking. Geoda Ray blows up one of their foundations, but Evil Bow is pretty bad. So it does let me remove the card after it's done and seal my opponent's character, but I don't necessarily want to have it. So you have to make sure that your Mace and AS and your Evil Bows are playing nice with each other. And the last asset that we're playing is one Salaka and Lunalua, excuse me. This just gives me a momentum every single turn. The Destroy Foundation ability is not very relevant. It can sometimes happen, specifically whenever my opponent destroys my stuff. I don't have a ton of Destroy happening inside of this deck. But this just lets me get a momentum every turn, which is very important for the engine of the deck, which we'll get to here in just a second. Onto our foundations. I want to talk about the aggressive foundations first. And if you notice, all of my attacks have printed 4 damage. And so Prolonged Espionage says that my printed damage of 4 attack gets +1 speed, +1 damage. This is how I'm going to be getting my very thick attacks through, because speed is what's going to let me land these really heavy hits. So accidentally giving things a +4 speed by having 4 of these out on the field is very, very good. In addition to that, we also have the hidden ability of, if we are at deadlock, all my attacks get +3 speed, +3 damage, which is just Yoshimitsu by himself. There was at one point where I had 2 of these out, and my opponent was at deadlock, so all my attacks got +6, +6. Eat your heart out, Scorpion. Card's very good, but it is limited in the decks that it can use. Up next, in the same vein, we're playing 4 OG Mecha Ninja. This card has 2 jobs. It's a flow card as well as an aggressive card. It checks to give my high attacks speed, which all of my useful attacks are. My mid attacks get +1 damage. That's not useful, but it does let me have extra checks for extra chances to trigger Yoshimitsu's ability if I'm in a tight spot. And this card says, after I play this card, my next weapon check to play a weapon card gets +2. So I can play the OG Mecha Ninja and then go for a Face Splitter and pretty much guarantee the Face Splitter is going to happen, especially if I have Face Splitter plus Yoshimitsu still live. So I can have all of these cards in my card pool, play the OG, play the Face Splitter. Even if I check a 3, I can respond with both and then be totally good. Up next, aggressive-wise, kind of in the same vein as the first 2. This card basically says discard a card for +2 speed, +1 damage. And it says the +2 speed is based on the block modifier. And so what this means is that even if they reduce the speed or reset the speed to 0, the block modifier still happens. There's not very many cards in the game that interact with the resetting block modifiers or such. And so this card is just a very good card to force my opponent to play around. The next card is Inhuman Speed. You would think that the Enhanced Commit is the reason I have it in here as the aggressive foundation, but I actually have it as the, if my opponent tries to gain life, I'm going to cancel it and burn them too. This card just sits on the board as a way for my opponent to be like, hey, you can't use Templar, hey, you can't gain 1 vitality, you can't do whatever, because I'm just going to cancel it, even if it's on your character. Hey, you can't use Amy's ability at all. I'll cancel it and then burn you an additional 2. Not to mention it's really good spam, which is why it's in the deck. And my last aggressive card is Double Shell of a Proud Man. There's so many times where the response flip is good as a disruptive tool, taking off the multiple keyword or the tech keyword or the throw keyword. That's fine. But the real bread and butter of this is I'm going to commit a foundation, and then after you don't block my cool attack, I'm going to hit you for an extra 2. The main reason this is good is it lets my pokes be a little scarier, because as Yoshimitsu, I've got this cool ability that says my next attack gets damaged. So a lot of times whenever you're playing against Yoshimitsu, you normally let the first attack go through. You don't block the first one because you know the next one's going to be even bigger. And in my deck, the next one's going to be double damage. And so I can easily play a poke, and then when they choose not to block because they suspect the next one coming, I will just Shell of a Proud Man, pump them for an extra 2, and then build out my hand. They easily could have blocked that card, but in suspecting, I made a fool out of them. Onto my flow cards. The main flow card in the deck and the engine of the deck is Manji Ninjetsu. So the reason this card is at a 4 of 1, it is a weapon foundation, which means it checks a 7 once per turn with Yoshimitsu, as well as it says first form, check a 7, which is great in our deck, or commit 2 cards, check a 5, commit 2 cards, check a weapon foundation, respond to Yoshimitsu, draw 2, and then add the top card of your deck to your momentum, or if your name's Yoshimitsu, you can gain 4 vitality. That gain 4 vitality is holy cow, that card's amazing. This card negates one of our own attacks if we are fighting ourselves. But the main reason it's important and we need as much momentum as possible is this says form once per turn, so up to 4 times per turn. I can discard a momentum and then take any weapon card from my discard pile and put it on top of my deck. So whether it be a weapon foundation to guarantee that I'm going to check a 5, or even better, I take and I grab an evil bow, make my check. It's a 2, respond with Yoshimitsu, make it a 4. That's totally reasonable. And then I get to pick up anything that I want. And so up to 4 times per turn, I can just check a 2 to grab whatever cool card that I want. The card's very, very strong. Up next, we're playing 1 Tridentity. This says in form commit. All my checks get +1 to play attacks for the rest of the turn. Very, very good, and a character that already lubes it up. And in the same vein, but a little bit different, T1 Groceries, remove 2 foundations from my discard pile to ready this foundation. So let's say I do check bad, I will commit my T1 Groceries, and the first thing I do is remove my 2 foundations and then ready it back up. Hey, it's like nothing happened. I will totally get rid of 2 non-weapon foundation cards to continue my kill turn. In the same vein as Groceries, we're playing double the Azure Nightmare. This card says discard a card, ready it. So it's instead of using the resource out of my discard pile, I'm using a resource out of my hand, and I'm drawing plenty of cards. Just lets me hit it. And this is a bit of a stun deterrent, because anytime that they use the stun keyword and I commit this card, I can force them to lose 2 vitality, which just helps close the game. We're playing Double Dreaming of Being a Big Hole. This is really cool because of the synergy that it has with Manji Ninjetsu. It says after you discard a momentum for any reason, you can ready it. So I've got both of these ready. I will use the form on Manji Ninjetsu, discard my momentum, ready these 2 cards, and then stack my 2 check on top. Oh, I checked a 2. Oh, I'll just commit them again. The ready is playable once per turn, but the discard of momentum, your next check to play an attack gets +1, is not playable once per turn and playable while committed. So I've got this stack of momentum. I've got the Double Dreaming of Becoming Whole. I can just load up discarding momentum and then just play all my attacks of essentially ignoring progressive difficulty. Up next, onto our defensive cards, we're playing triple Forge from Soul Edge. This card is putting in so much work. If it partially blocks a weapon attack, it deals 0 damage. Being a 2-mid block and a weapon foundation, really important under the Chaos symbol because we don't have a ton of those. I essentially just have added 3 more 7 checks into my deck and a pseudo ultra block. Disruption, we're playing 1 Warrior of a Lost Clan. After I have 3 or more weapon cards in my card pool, I can flip and I get to pick to destroy one of my opponent's cool cards, or I can commit and switch this weapon's speed or damage. Let's say that they are at 4/3 life, but they have a ton of foundations. Well, I've increased my speed and my weapon attack a ton, but not necessarily the damage, or excuse me, vice versa. I've increased the damage, but not the speed. I can commit Warrior and make that a 9 high for 3. Oh, you were at 2? I killed you. We're playing double Face of a Monster. This card is just a defense on wheels. Response after you play an attack, I will pay a vitality to decrease its speed by 2, and then I can change the zone of any attack, whether it be mine or yours. This card's just very, very solid. Onto some more disruption. We're playing 4 Hunt for Spiders and Dragons. Really solid card. It lets it build down in my staging area as well as flip problem cards that my opponent has. This card has torn up metas and one of the best tools that Chaos has at its disposal. In the same vein of Hunt, dealing with problem foundations, we've got double Outworld Eris. As opposed to flipping the cards, though, I'm going to stuff it back in your hand. So I'll pay Vitality as one of the first things that I do, and then stuff that foundation or asset, which is where it's better than Hunt, up into your hand. Just a really, really good card. We're playing 1 Ninja Outcast. This card says that after my opponent plays a response on a weapon card, which there are a ton, pretty much every relevant asset in the game is a weapon card, you can discard a momentum and cancel it. Your opponent, this includes things like keywords, because it just says play an ability. So if you play an enhance or response or whatever, you just cancel it, as well as it stops your opponent from reversaling you, which is very good. Up next, we've got double Sinister Malevolence. I put this card in here, honestly, because I knew that Andy was going to be a problem, and because Chaos has access to this really good spam with a 2 mid-block that stops the good symbol from doing what the good symbol does. There are so many good cards in the game right now that just build in foundations for free and kind of just cheat the system. Well, Sinister Malevolence kind of keeps that in check a little bit. And then my last card that we're playing is Double Pure of Heart. This card just says, if my opponent attempts to discard cards out of my hand, I'm already a 5-hander, a pseudo 7-hander, but those resources are very precious to me because I do have to jump through a couple hoops in order to get them. If they discard any of those cards, I'll discard the Pure of Heart and then make them pretty much end their turn by adding 2 foundations up. But more importantly, the disruptive power of First Enhance Commit, choose a card, and they can't play it for this attack is very, very good. I'm playing my 4th attack. It's a face splitter. It's going to be massive, and they've got something that gets to reset my damage. You don't, actually, because I will Pure of Heart as my first enhance and say you can't use the ability to reset my damage. Card's just phenomenal. And so there you have it. There is the Yoshimitsu deck that we played for this week's Campus Championship. If you like this deck and you want to see more of it, make sure you check out all the matches that it played over on youtube.com/TCG University in its own separate playlist, or catch all the matches live by going out to twitch.tv/TCG University. Every Tuesday at roughly 3 o'clock, we run an 8-man single elimination UniVersus bracket. It's very, very fun. And if you think all of that is super rad and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is by going out to patreon.com/TCG University. Support us out there, get access to our Discord as well as a bunch of other awesome content, and talk to the entire student body and the staff at TCGU and tell them about your really cool Yoshimitsu deck. So, from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching and stay alert.